Hello and welcome to today's show. We are joined by the wonderful Nathaniel Gillis. So, welcome to the show once again, and an amazing guy who I've had the pleasure of meeting, and we've become great friends.
It's good to be back with you guys. I always enjoy my time with you, and here we are.
It's great to have you on. Yes, yeah, definitely. Even if we're talking about food, it's still very, very interesting. Doesn't matter what we discuss, it's always good. Anyone who wants to complain about looking through a telescope, binoculars, or whatever, we've all unanimously chosen the circles. So just that's it. That's what we've got. Yeah, we went through the 3 different ones and we have decided that we're going to take the circles today. So it's all good. Right, just a quick update before Nathaniel starts talking about his research and what he has going on. We are still doing the 24-hour podcast on the 1st and 2nd of November. But as of today, it's now with a twist. I have been in contact with certain people. I'm waiting for some to respond. And between myself, Nicole, and Nickname, we're sharing notes in the calendar for who is coming on. Now, two voice notes later, I then decided that it'd be more fun if I didn't know who the guests are that are coming on the show. So I know the ones that are on there now, which are 1, 2, 4. I've been in contact with 5 other people. So out of the 23 guests, I will know a maximum of 9 people. I do not know who any of the others are. There are a couple of people that are going to come on and co-host with me. So that's Tim Smith that was out with investigating with this afternoon. He's going to come on. There's a couple of others. I don't want to give too much away till nearer the time, but it's going to be so going in blind. It's like an investigation, isn't it? Not knowing. And the thing is, a lot of these people, some people I will know, some I've never met before, so I won't really know anything about them because I'm not going to have their bio. I'm just going to see a person in the bottom of the screen and the name. So it's
they're just going to show up.
Yeah. So it's just, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of questions per person. So.
And we only have an hour per person, so you might want to narrow that
down. I think we'll be fine. Some of them may overlap. I think quite a lot of them will actually overlap. Yeah, doing probably. It on 2 streams, 2 12-hour streams, it would just be easier this time to do it this way. Everything's checked and prepped and ready to go. So thank you, Nickname, for helping organise it, and Nicole for getting some of the guests that have been confirmed today as well. So Nicole as well, are you wanting to know who the guests are or not? Because I've left that down to you.
I don't think so. I think I want to be surprised.
Right, okay. So both, we know the ones that we can see shared. All the other time slots we've got, it just says taken. So we know that time slot has gone. So if anyone does get back to us, we can't fill that in. But we don't have a name of who's going to be there. So, yeah, it's all good. And also a massive thank you to everyone who has joined on Patreon. We are, I'd say, 2/3 of the way there to the monthly outgoings that we need to cover. So once we get to that point, obviously I'm still covering a lot of the cost, but that with StreamYard putting their prices up and changing everything, it's just gone. Nathaniel, it's gone from like $32 to $90 for the same thing. So it's like, oh my, yeah. So thank you for everyone who's joined through Patreon and everyone who's listening on podcast. We are now finally on Apple Podcast. I had to change the logo about 30 times. They wanted it 3000 megapixel squared, but it had to be less than 1 meg. Have you ever tried doing that? It's like trying to get a baby's shoe and fit it on your foot, and then be able to dance in the street for half an hour. It's just virtually impossible. So yeah, managed to do it anyway. That's done. So we're on all the podcast players. So thank you everyone listening and downloading on podcasts. Really do appreciate it. You too, if you would like to help support the show, you can join Patreon on there. There are going to be actual live streams going on Patreon. So it won't be on YouTube, won't be on any other platform, and it will just go out to certain tiers of the Patreon membership. 2 of the new Patreon memberships. 1, you get a mug. I think that's Mermaid. And Alien, you get a hoodie. But they are more expensive than the others. But if you go on Patreon, just type in Alienate UK and you'll see them all on there. Right, that's me done rambling. So, Nathaniel, welcome. And thank you for sitting there and not going home, not switching off and thinking, I'm done.
No, man, it's always a pleasure to be with you guys. And obviously, we had a phenomenal time in Bolton last year or earlier this year. And it's always a good time being on your show. So I'm thankful to be here.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Good. And we got to drink and hang out and just do the normal everyday stuff. And we didn't really cover much when we was having our own private chats. Didn't really cover a lot of the paranormal as such. It was just
unwinding, pretty much. Yeah, unwinding. I was, that was a long day for all of us lecturers. I mean, even you guys probably had equally as long of a day as we did, and it was interesting. I first time being out of the country, and it was just really cool to having just meeting everybody for the first time, and then afterwards having the ability to go upstairs, get cleaned up, take a hot shower, get cleaned up, then go downstairs, get some food, and just hang out with some amazing people.
Drink.
Yeah. That was fun.
A lot of drinking involved. Not too much, but no, it was good. Yeah, definitely needs to be a part 2 for that.
I hope there will be. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm just going to come over to the US. I'm coming over next year.
Anyway. Yeah. You need to come to Ohio, and we'll take you. I'll take you to where the Collins Elite were hubbed out of, which is right here in Dayton.
You do know the chances of me coming over and then never ever coming back to the UK are pretty.
In July, right?
Going Florida, supposedly so far so good. Going to a conference in Florida at St. Petersburg for disclosure now with Brian Seng. He's on again in a couple of weeks.
By the time you hit all the places you want to hit.
Yeah, so he's invited us over, so asked us to be part of it. I've already booked the time off work, so I just got to get my flight, and I'll sleep in a tent. I don't care.
Have you ever been to Florida at all?
I've been New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, like New England area.
You just wait, brother. Wait until you get off that plane and the scorching sun starts to burn your hair. Yeah. You will look. I'm telling you, I've been there a handful of times, and it will start hurting.
Really?
Yes. Midwest Night Watchers. Yes. Hello, my friends.
Yes.
It is not.
I'm sorry.
We lost you then, Nicole. Nope, she's gone.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Like last time I was there was in 18. I went to Destin. And
sunscreen, Angie.
Oh.
Yes. I'll be fine. Yes. It's all good.
I went out there. I'm like, who's cooking? Who's cooking what? It was like me. I was being cooked.
Me, my skin.
Oh, bacon. What is that? That's you, Nathaniel.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you can now.
There's a lag, I think.
There's about a 20-second delay with Nicole.
20-second delay, dude.
Yeah. I was just counting.
I've had those before.
Yeah.
I had to do a show one time like that, brother. I'm telling you. I did a show years ago where it was a 25 to 30-second delay. And it was tough, right? Like I was It was fun.
Different.
Yeah, right. Because they would ask a question, and then like 30 minutes, I would answer.
All right.
I felt so bad. I was like, oh my god, you can't help it though. It's the internet.
I was gonna say to Nicole, if you go out and come back in, beat me to it. There we go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it did it the other week with her. We were streaming onto TikTok as well as doing this, and because the two are conflicting because it's using the same camera and it's just like mirroring, but you're trying to connect two servers through two platforms through two servers. It's absolute nuts. So I've stopped doing it. Stopped with the TikTok. But it's, oh god, I'm just gonna move us about because this way, right, that's better. Then I'm looking at you guys and not myself, which is weird. Oh, that's better. Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
we got invited over to Florida, so I'm going to be doing that. I just need to go traveling around the US.
Yeah, you'll get Texas barbecue and you'll never want to leave. It'll be over for you.
Yeah. I'll be fine. I'll just walk it off.
We get you on with them diets. Like, come on, man.
Yes, diet of steaks. That's
Yes.
what it'll be, won't it? Right. So we have. I thought there's two questions, but there's only one that's come up. Right. So this is from Nickname, and she is saying, "What has Nathaniel been up to since the last time?"
Nothing much. I still have the same old questions. I mean, from my perspective, the phenomenon is still interested in simulating reality in our species, simulating reality.
Yeah.
And so if it can simulate reality, then it can and has weaponized entire archetypes. And now I'm questioning if the phenomenon isn't creating some apparitions.
Right.
And rather, good.
I was just going to say, so if it's creating these different, like say, apparitions, and does that include cryptids?
Absolutely.
So this
100%.
is like everything from one end of the scale to the other.
Yes. Now, this is fascinating. When you get into our good friend Paul St. Clair's research and virtually anyone who knows about cryptozoology, that some of these entities, when they run alongside of a car, the actual distance they're creating in their stride does not add up to the distance they're walking and running. So they'll be going 2 steps and they're traveling at 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. It doesn't make sense. They don't have that long of legs. The distance is incongruent with the data. And so what they're observing is it doesn't match with the length of the step. You should be going 5 miles an hour. You're going 40. And we've witnessed that same phenomenon this is fascinating stuff. I mean, I think, it's fascinating. But we've seen the same phenomenon within ufology, specifically. I'll give you a case study right now. In 1973, Tammy Stone, her abductors. I have notes here because I have to. Anyways, her abductors, when they exited the craft itself before they abducted her, their movements were jerky. The way they walked didn't add up either. The animation, there we go. And it was essentially something that was simulating reality, but there was an off-thing. There was something that was, again, incongruent. And so the phenomenon was almost masquerading its presence in her perspective. So she's seeing something, but it doesn't add up. It's incongruent with reality. And so I've seen that not just with the gait and the strides of the cryptids, but now we're seeing it within some of the alleged aliens that are abducting people. It makes no sense. And if you take that data set and compare it to some of the incubi cases I've collected, where the entity is again simulating, I'm your husband, or in one case I had, it was I'm your girlfriend. So it wants to look the part so badly but there are points of incongruence, as I've stated, to where it doesn't look the part. There are facial structures, the proportions are different than the actual person.
Yeah.
And so what's alarming is we're seeing this behavioral pattern in hauntology, again, in demonology, and now in ufology. And so whatever this is seemingly reaching and pulling from the same information. It's manifesting in these same methods. And now we're seeing parts of that simulated reality fail, where the phenomenon, again, it's simulating it, but there are parts that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
And they are not overlaying reality properly and in completion. And it's just like, okay, that can't be it. It wants to be the part. It wants to play that archetype, but we're starting to see through the masquerade.
Yeah. So do you think there's a possibility that it could be us manifesting it, and because we're not concentrating 100% on what is actually going on, that's why you're getting the lag, the glitching, it like phasing in and out and all that kind of stuff? Is it, could it be us that are controlling it, but we don't know we're actually doing it?
Well, I think these are independent entities. I think that the archetypes are often projected by our species.
Yeah.
And this is what I've been stressing as of late, right? It's what's called the projected consciousness model, where the entity itself is independent of our consciousness, but it will weaponize our images.
Right.
It will weaponize our memories. And so that's why when it's okay, is that the deceased loved one? I don't know. Because that could be an entity wearing and masquerading as that archetype. And so this is why I have stressed over and over again, and I said it before on your show, we can only know the phenomenon to the extent that we know ourselves. And so there is that part of me, and much of it is. But there's a contrast between the independent entity that's present and the archetype it's projecting through us. So there's a difference it's different than Egor, and it's different than Tulpa. It's literally the entity that's weaponizing images in our mind. Okay, it'll overlay its own appearance. This is what's so fascinating is when we get into these manifestations, like I said, there will be inconsistencies in the manifestation because that's not the entity in its truest form. That is literally just what it wants us to see.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
So how deep do you think the rabbit hole goes with that?
Oh my God. Here's the problem. If the data is not accurate, if it's not true, let's say if the demon itself has never existed, and we have an intelligence that's weaponized the propaganda, then all we truly know is the propaganda itself, right? We don't really know that source. So how deep does it go? Well, it's not just, let's say like this. It's not just that it doesn't want you to remember a lot of it. It's like with respect to abduction accounts, they'll take us. What we do remember, they allow us to remember. And what we do remember that they allowed us to remember is often incorrect.
Yeah.
You see, it's layered, and it's quite literally a control mechanism of perception management. And this has occurred not just in demonology, but with abduction accounts, where by the time you start having post-traumatic stress disorder introduced into the case study, now their body is starting to bear the memories. The mind doesn't really have access to it yet. And so then people go into memory regression, and all of a sudden the body catches up with the mind catches up with the body, and they realize, oh my God, I've been lied to. There's something that actually occurred to me that was deeply malevolent. So deception is the phenomenon allowing us to believe ourselves.
Yeah.
And you're staring into a mirror, not realizing, okay, there's something beyond what I'm witnessing.
Yeah.
Do you have like a test or a tell for like what's the phenomena versus what's, reality?
Mm-hmm. Well, The only time we have experienced that is when there have been wrinkles in their armor, where the phenomenon, and this is why sometimes it's almost like it runs off a program, where, like that one case of mine where the phenomenon was abducting a little girl, and so it abducted her later on in life, but she didn't remember. I think I remember telling you guys this. She didn't study the same comic books, didn't watch the same TV shows, the cartoons, and so it did not have an archetype to lean into anymore. Fascinating. So here she is, taller than the entity, and the entity is like, okay, I'm your favorite cartoon. And she's like, I don't watch those anymore. And so that's a wrinkle, like a wrinkle in the armor, where you're looking at this, and it's forced to improvise, and it could not, without recalibrating itself. And that's when its eyes moved, and it started measuring her belief in the archetype it was manifesting as. Powerful stuff. But when you look at it, it's the inconsistent archetype. It's the deceased loved one who doesn't really remember or believe what the loved one remembers and believes, right?
Yeah.
That's when you start seeing through it. The case I had with an incubus, where the entity manifested to the wife and they copulated. It was only after copulation. This will show you some of their abilities. It's only after copulation that she started looking in his face and realized there were portions of his face that didn't add up. Like, okay, like there's a mole on the left side of my husband's face, but yeah, this mole's on the right. Very strange. And so then she began to deconstruct the archetype. And that's when it realized, okay, she's got me. It dematerialized into a smoky apparition. And then this is also interesting. Her brain was allowed to remember things. That's when she realized, oh my God, that could be my husband, because my husband's been right here next to me sleeping.
Yeah.
So it blocked access. It's insane.
Yeah. So my question for this is, right, if there's a shared consciousness, throughout all of the phenomena, surely is it that clever that it knows what memories to give to what individual?
Yes.
Or could there be some sort of crossover, like we said about regression? When you're going back, what if it's not your memory? What if it's somebody else's?
Well, in terms of weaponized intelligence, 100%. And it will only show that face when it feels threatened, when we've gotten beyond the veil. And again, like I said, deconstructing the archetype, only then will it manifest. Okay, by the way, right? And one of the late researchers, Paul, I forget his name now, Paul Eno from Massachusetts, talked about this when he was encountering an entity that had possessed a woman, and out of nowhere it pulls a memory. By the way, I was there when so and so, blah, 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 blah. I'm the one that made it pull the trigger. Now, with respect to the archival information they're pulling from, it seems to be universal in that mode, in that model. Oh my God.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. You're welcome. From my heart to yours. But that's one thing that has kind of alarmed me, because if these are all independent entities, if they are independent of each other, right? The ghost is different from this, and right? All that. Then how is it that they all know the same things?
This is a thing, isn't it?
Right. They're pulling from the same archive of information, even to the point of foreknowledge. Matter of fact, in Prague in the early 1900s, allegedly, they had captured a demon, and this demon was being led around the street. And he walked by a man who sold shoes. He repaired shoes. He looked at him and said, so-and-so, named him, and said, you and your son will die. And they did.
Yeah.
They did.
We
even in the UFO, I can go all with case studies.
Yeah, it must. So now, for me, my next theory is the phenomena must be so much more complex than anyone could ever believe, for it to be able to individually pinpoint all the stuff that's going on simultaneously with all the different things that are going out and happening to different people, and the stuff that's happening not just to people but to animals as well, for all that to be going and it know what is what and where and how and when.
Yeah, so I want to make a correction though. The reference I made about the demon in Prague was in the 16th century, not 1900s. But yeah, yes, it's intimately involved in everything, and to the extent that it, and I've had one of these cases where it will create a situation in someone's life and then step back into it to feed off of them. I had a case study. This is during COVID, where a family reached out to me. Their daughter was in the hospital, was having abdominal issues. And once we got down to the bottom of it, what happened was that she went to a college party and she went upstairs and man pulled her in the room. And so after that event took place, she's thinking, okay, I'm getting over it, right? I'm not going to therapy yet, but I'm getting over it. Well, she started having PTSD symptoms, but what had accompanied these PTSD symptoms was an entity feeding off of the terror. Because after that, next thing you know, she has an entity in her house who is reconstructing that entire event in her nightmares. Very strange stuff. And so how much of our reality does the phenomenon have control of? Well, we have to be very careful with our terms and our concepts here, because foreknowledge is not predestination.
No.
Right. Like Andy's going to Florida. Doesn't mean I'm in charge of him going to Florida. I'm not paying for the ticket, right? Once you get there, even though it happens, I didn't. Yeah, unfortunately not. I wish I could. So we have to at least think of these concepts deeper than we usually would. But in terms, again, are they a singular source, or they're using a singular intelligence, right? And that could mean that, okay, they're allies, maybe, or they're the same phenomenon. Again, that is weaponizing images in propaganda. So here's the problem. If I become a demon to you and you do not have the linguistic knowledge of what a demon is, or an historical perspective of what I'm claiming to be, you would have no frame of reference to call me out. You would just go along, right, with the narrative. Okay, that's a demon, not realizing that what it's done is it's just stepped into it. And it's literally leaning on the ignorance, like with even me. You know, if something came to me and says, oh, I trust it, but do I understand its background? Do I have a linguistic understanding of it? Do I have a frame of reference? If I don't, easily discern it. And so what it's doing, again, is not just monitoring belief in the image, not just that, but monitoring the liturgical knowledge and understanding of that individual, literacy. And I've noticed that too, where, okay, if it's Jesus, is it the real Jesus? And are you approaching a Hebrew scholar as Jesus? No. Why? Because that archetype will be deconstructed based on the literacy of the individual. It's done. I know you're not that. So there's a measuring of literacy and archetypal awareness that's going on, and all of that is sometimes occurring within seconds.
Do you think we even, as like humans, have the ability to comprehend what the phenomena is, or even if it appeared to us in its truest form, would we like assign it some known value because we can't wrap our head around it?
So we're dealing with this archetype. So I would say this, that what we can comprehend is it depends on our language. So what I've learned right now is that I'm personally still looking for a correct vocabulary, but even when I try to define it, I limit it. But that's the only thing I can do, right? I have to create a ladder of words in order to get us to a certain understanding. But to simplify it, it's quite simple once you realize it. It's not an equation. It's not something deep and profound. It's literally, okay, it masquerades as various phenomena because it doesn't want us to know its source. And in doing that, if you want to deconstruct the archetype, it's very simple. Very simple. But the problem is once you pull that mask off, what are we going to have next?
That's it.
Because I know researchers, and again, even the great Paulino, before he passed away, he was disturbed because he realized that the researchers who were doing the most damage to that masquerade were dying. In fact, Dr. Carla Turner, and himself included. And that's why he wrote the Facebook post, like, listen, I'm doing some, introspection here. There's this problem in the field. And I know people right now that people are wanting on podcasts. They won't go on podcasts. And one host told me his email he received from this individual was explicit. I know too many scientists and too many researchers that have been found dead lately. I'm not coming back on. I don't even want to talk about the subject. So my point is, all we're doing now is deconstructing the archetypes. That's primarily my research and others that we're connected to. The problem is, what will happen once we get deeper and deeper into the research? Once the phenomenon feels threatened, it pushes back, and it's not good.
No. So, 2 questions quickly, and then because we've got loads of questions for you, as usual. So, would you say that then we as humans are restricted into finding out the knowledge of this? It's not that anyone's hiding the truth from us.
Mm-hmm.
Like the government agencies, higher bodies, and all that kind of stuff. That's what I mean by it being hidden. I mean, the whole human race is not being told, because then that way it has more control over what we can and cannot access.
Yes. I've been toying with this concept for a while now. See, once we understand the poison, it's possible we can create the antidote.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they're hiding the poison from us is because they don't want us to understand the antidote. So at least from my perspective, there is a human potential within our species that they're monopolizing, they're pillaging, sourcing, and we're ignorant of it. But let's get back down to this. There are also, again, within these simulated realities we're experiencing, there is a reason why they're simulating. It's because they don't want us to see beyond reality. They don't want us to realize, number one, that they're present. Number two, that our version of reality is flawed, literally quite hiding in plain sight. Why? Because I don't want you to know something. I don't want you to look beyond, right, whatever you think your world is. And there's reasons for that. So what I've gathered thus far, it seems to me that they're sharing the same source of information. They do have foreknowledge, and they can blend into our world to where you can see them, think they belong, and that they don't belong here at all. It's something completely different.
Right. So then, with you saying that, do you think that our world was created for them to fit in without us being able to notice exactly what is going on? And it's only through, I was just going to say, only through these glitches and the little things that kind of like don't really add up, that it's been noticed and people are taking notes and taking the data and keeping it.
Well, it's possible that the blind spots we exist in were designed.
Right.
That's something I'm looking into, because they have too much access to us. Even like within abduction accounts, yes, they can put people in suspended animation. Where does that come from? You're just, and that person wakes up and has no memory of what occurred. So they have access. There are access points to us, and it's weird because the access points are coordinating with our blind spots as well. How does that happen? Like the part they're accessing, we're the most ignorant of.
Yeah.
And we only know to exist because, and this is another concept, another idea, maybe because we are evolving too fast. We're starting again to look beyond the veil and remember things they did not want us to remember. And So that's what I believe is happening. But again, the access points, they're highly disturbing to me because those are the areas of our existence that we are the most ignorant of. They know the most about what we are the most ignorant of, and they've weaponized it.
Yeah. It's like, sorry, someone put in the chat. I'll see if I can find it. Because I was going to bring this up because I know you do work with both of these. It's Billy GW. He's saying that Barry Fitzgerald says the phenomena is our soul. So it has total access to your memory. You can't surprise it. It knows. But I was going to say to you, I know because I know the work. I know you know the work that Steve Mayer and Barry Fitzgerald do. And when I've asked them this question as to where the origin of the source is, they didn't tell me because it's in the new book, which I get because obviously they want to sell the book. But without you giving anything away of their work, where and what do you believe is the source coming from? If you can answer that.
Let me say it like this. The phenomenon has hijacked the hybridization narrative, right? We think of hybrids, okay, bulbous-eyes, and we'll notice them immediately in our species.
Yeah.
Dr. Carla Turner was told by an abductee that one of these entities told the abductee there was a difference, that the species of the soul was different than the species of the body it was inhabiting.
Right.
And so when the phenomena interacts with that portion of our existence, it's interacting with that. I mean, we've got this fatal fascination with, raised consciousness and they abducted me and they did something to me. Okay, just because they did something to you doesn't mean they did something for you.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the, I guess, the cutting edge of the hybridization research now is the fact that they are adjusting something within the avatar, and we're taking the memory home thinking, oh my God, right? I'm super special. I'm a hybrid. For who? In my lecture at the Awakening, right? This is why I talked about the host in how that if you understand the relationship between the host and the parasite, we can get so confused, right? It would be a lot like looking at a demoniac and saying, okay, everything the demon does for the demoniac is for the person's benefit. It's not.
No.
It's there to survive. It is there to exist in. And so this also plays into the role of the abduction account, because there are some experiencers, but Luke was one of them, and there are a host of others, where the phenomena will take them and it will do something in them. It's almost spiritual. It's very much consciousness. And then they will be told, you will not remember this. Which you? Right?
Yeah.
The host or what is inside of the host. And so we see this kind of play out when there's a battle, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like there's something in me that remembers it. Then there's something else that doesn't. And so they have to go through memory regression, think, okay, it's very strange. But my suggestion, and of course I haven't read their book at all. I don't want to, I love it to death. I don't want to speak on it too in depth because but I would think that we're looking at some people being hosts.
So could that then
species being hosts?
Yeah. Could that then be the reason of the Mandela effect?
It's possible.
Or a reason?
It's possible. The connection between consciousness and how it manifests is intimate. Like, again, it's not just weaponizing the archetype. It's not just weaponizing information throughout all of the archetypes. The ghosts know the same thing as the demons. Demons know the same thing as the aliens. But there are things that are inward within the experiencer that only the experiencer would know that it takes to. So, matter of fact, it was during that Paulino case where he thought something and the entity pulled it out. Oh, okay. And in response, it took that bad memory and threw it back at him. And just as to say, okay, yeah, you think I'm something, but wait until I weaponize this. So I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what they are. I don't think that we could comprehend what they are. They've basically told us that. Like, if we shared with you what this is all about, you would not understand. And in some ways, this gets back into Dr. Turner's hypothesis. Some ways we are like cattle, in the sense that there are things being done to us, and we can only remember certain things about them. And but there comes a time, my friends, where we evolve to a point, right, that we start questioning these events. No longer paranormal to us, right? Now they're occurring to us, and we're asking who they are, what the agenda is. And at some point, are we easily farmable? Or would it be in their best interest, right, to tighten control? Is this making sense at all, Nicole? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
No, it's not making sense.
Deep. It's deep, but yeah. But I spoke to you quite a bit about all this anyway, so I kind of got a bit of a lead edge on what you're talking about. So, yeah, kind of cheating with it, but not with the new stuff though. The questions that I'm throwing at you now is just from what you're saying, and it's just clicking stuff in my mind to put out. And that's why I said about the Mandela effect, because if you've got a host, and then you've got a host on the soul and a host on the body, then there's two different things going on at the same time. Could that be the equivalent of what we believe is a dimensional shift?
It could be. This is okay, but let's look at the soul as being parasitic, and this is again what I lectured at Awakening about, right? Where we have always been trained to believe that the host was the hybrid mother, and that's not true. That's another narrative the phenomenon hijacked and kind of, went through and blazed into our consciousness. But in the correct hybridization model, it was the fetus that was the host. So the phenomenon courted the hybrid mother, right? Does the insemination, then takes the fetus as its avatar. Now, what this speaks to is, not just speaks to, but at least, okay, cool, bro. Thank God. These are somewhat complex ideas, and I have to break them down. But again, the phenomenon can hijack entire narratives, and if we don't have access and knowledge enough to break through it, it will go on, right? It will continue to propagate that narrative. And one of those such narratives is the archetype of the hybrid mother. And because ufology just thought, okay, well, yeah, hybridization is modern. Of course it is. Thank you, Ms. Tesla. Thank you for showing up. Wow. That's awesome. But yeah, it was not tethered to actual case studies, right? And because we didn't have the head knowledge to call it out, it went on convincing people of that. It's not until you go back into Antiquity and say, okay, where did this originate? What was the very first archetype? There's only two. One of them was divinized ancestors. The other one was deities. And the way the phenomenon is responding to us today, it responded to as the first archetype, which was divinized ancestors, which we see that in funerary rites in Antiquity, specifically Mesopotamia, where it was a person dies, I'm going to build an altar for them, and they're going to give me insights into the netherworld. But here's the problem. We're seeing that same methodology being employed now in hauntology, wherein the phenomenon manifests as a loved one, right? Oh, I'm a ghost. Are you?
Yeah.
What are you wanting? Are you trying to, put me back into that same model to where it's very strange? But one thing is for sure that even in Antiquity, when it did manifest through that mask, they were most certainly not our ancestors. They were something so completely beyond. And it was using that interface to literally pull on the emotions of our species. Do you love that ancestor? Sure. Okay, I'm going to weaponize it.
Yeah.
It used these masks to literally modify and moderate human behavior. How is that not religion?
It is, isn't it? But it's like this has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years. We've seen it with different civilizations that have come and gone. They're all doing the same kind of thing. They're, like you say, when someone dies, they're creating the altar. Or the ancient Egyptians used the pyramids, which I believe was built before they were even there, even thought of. You've got the Aztecs, Native Americans, throughout the world, all the different tribes and that, and they're all still doing the same thing, but no one's getting any answers. And it's, like I said, it's been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, let's say, and we're still at the same point as they was then. Whatever their belief is, doesn't have to be the same belief as what we have now. You could have 30 different civilizations or tribes or whatever, and each one has a different belief as to what happens, but they are all still in reality doing the exact same thing, but with their outcome is just a different belief, and that's all you get. And there's no progression from there to where we are now.
No, because again, the phenomenon has made an orchestrated effort to obfuscate the subject, to control the question, and in controlling the question, controlling the answer. So we, as researchers and experiencers, have to stay true, not to the dogma, to the data, as much as possible, because the phenomenon, again, has looked at the vacuum and created entire entities. And guess what they do? They point us right back to, okay, yeah, I want an altar. Well, I thought you were a deceased ancestor. Wait a minute, I thought you were a god. I thought you were a demon. Matter of fact, I thought you were an alien. Hello, George Adamski, go and build an altar in your attic, and these aliens will manifest. Okay, sure. And so, what we need to pay close attention to is what the phenomenon is responding to. Why? Okay, especially with our friend Barry Fitzgerald's research, Steve Maris. Okay, ley lines. Okay, the phenomenon's leaning very close to those, and then you interweave that into Antiquity. Say, okay, wait a minute. Our ancestors were moving their altars within the proximity of the phenomenon, and the phenomenon again was moderating our behavior. Come here. Okay, don't go over there. Why don't you create civilization over here, right? And so it's virtually symbiotic, if not parasitic.
Yeah. But then, so Nicole might, I don't know whether you're going to agree with me on this. So when I go out investigating, Nicole goes out investigating, and this is going back to the manifestation from our own mind, soul, is so when we go somewhere, like I was out this afternoon and we got some weird stuff going on. It's literally like 5-minute drive from where I live. It was like heavy breathing and all that. And me and Tim, we were there and was recording, he was doing a live stream, and he sent me the audio from it, which I'm going to upload onto the description in the YouTube channel so people can listen to it. But when you go somewhere, you go out to do an investigation like that, your preconception of what's going to go on, that could be you or whatever the energy is around that's manifesting what is going to be created, which could also be part of the source of the phenomena, because it knows you're going there for that particular thing.
Yes.
So could that just be being created for your own purpose, for self-belief?
Yeah, the phenomenon is very user-friendly. It's reflective. But within that reflection, there is deflection. And so this is why Barry Fitzgerald, Steve Maris' research is so vital in the field right now.
Yeah.
Is because perception management and emotional influence It cannot be overstated here. You again, this has also been mentioned by other researchers during the aerial sighting in Zimbabwe. Many of those children said at first blush they looked to be pure evil, and then after that everything was fine. Right now, we need to. I'm telling you, this grieves me. Right now, there are parapsychologists in Germany who are in contact with an alien species that they have admitted have openly manipulated their emotions to the point when they're in contact, they're interfacing. Oh, that's so phenomenal. And then they just start laughing hysterically out of nowhere. Is there anything funny? Not at all. Nothing was funny. It was just the phenomenon inducing an emotional state in them. This is disturbing.
Yeah.
Because again, I know Barry Fitzgerald has highlighted this model as well, where it's like, okay, the phenomenon interfaces, it manifests, and then in my perspective, sometimes it will weaponize our own archetypes against us. But there is a period of time that we are fighting for, right? Before it manifests to us and manifests through us, there's a period of time. And Barry's highlighted this in many cases, where in that paradigm, we are fighting for the rest of what's going to happen in that encounter. And we first see this methodology employed with Ikigai cases, where it wasn't just the lover, it was the regulation of sexuality, the regulation of the emotions. And so it wants to be believed, and then it will believe in itself through you.
So now, sorry, I was just going to say, I get the understanding now of it being a parasite. Because if it infestates into your mind, then you're going to believe that if you believe you're an empath, in reality, you're not actually an empath. You're getting the emotions from this parasite, and it's making you believe these different things, which is causing the different stuff that goes on. And back to investigating, sometimes I'll be there and I'll just start laughing for no reason, or I'll start getting upset or angry. They'll have different emotions, and you're just thinking, oh, it's coming from the energy because of what's going on around you. But if it is a parasite, which is pretty thick and not in a good way, then it's making you believe that you're doing something that you're not actually doing. And that's how it's controlling, and that's how it's controlling the phenomenon from the source. And it's manipulating you.
Yeah. And this is why these case studies are so important to forming the theory here. Because when you start to see that it was, again, I got to get back to this because I want to hit this point home. It's not just manifesting an archetype that wants you to believe in. It's coming through and helping you, right? Oh, I'm in love with it. How many times have we heard about the cases? Oh, well, I was in love with it until you weren't. And even, again, like even with this case study with the woman and the husband, it blocked memory. It blocked memory in order to reinforce the image in her mind.
Yeah.
Right? You forgot your husband's here because I'm your husband. And so by the time everything was said and done and the phenomenon released its grasp on her consciousness, the memory hit, boom. Oh, he's been here the entire time. And by that time, it was too late. So we're fighting for very little time here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Where we have access to us.
Yeah. I get this now. I get the 20-second rule from Barry Fitzgerald. I now get that when you're having direct contact with the phenomena, it seems normal. It's not until that phenomena releases you when you go, what the hell just happened? That's why you don't want to take a photo. That's why you're not thinking about shouting someone, come and have a look at this. Because it's controlling you at that moment in time. Regardless of what's going on before, what's going to go on after, it knows what you're going to do after, and it knows you're going to think, why didn't you take a photo? Why didn't you shout someone?
Investigating with that experiment.
Did you hear that?
Say that again, sorry.
Is that my end?
She's gone. No, she's been having issues with the internet. I don't know what's going on. I think it's a New York thing.
Or something, brother.
Yeah, but I get the 20-second rule. I get all the what you believe is going on in investigation now. Some of it you could be leading it, but I now get that you're being manipulated and being led to believe that it's something that it actually isn't.
Kind of like the vampire with like the glamour thing.
Yes,
there we go.
Exactly that.
Go. Perfect explanation. And this is again, it's religious cross-cultural, but to move deeper into this pathology here, again, it will inspire belief in the image. And there are certain, and this is where I'm at, it may even be able to suspend certain laws of nature in order to protect the projection, in order to construct the interface. These are two other case studies that I'm going to introduce here. One was with another experience that Dr. Kohler Turner worked with, where she was with a group of people in a room, and it was, I think they were in bed or something, and she said she sees this helicopter above her, and it sounds like a helicopter. She's like, but it's coming through the roof. It's very strange. Well, what was occurring to her within her perspective was completely different than what the witnesses outside were seeing. They saw a white ball of light descend down upon her. They couldn't hear her. They couldn't see her. She couldn't hear or see them. And so the phenomenon, this is fascinating, ball of light over top of the experiencer. And she's thinking, oh my God, this helicopter's descending down in my room and going, you're right? No. Let's move to a step further here. Dr. Barry Tapp had a case with Doris Bither where it was supposed to be a poltergeist case, but it's a poltergeist turned incubus, to where her sons were witnessing this ball of light descend down upon her, doing something to her. They saw her body begin to move, but the ball of light had kind of concealed the entire situation. It's literally, again, it's monitoring our perception of it.
Yeah.
And I can go on and on with that, but
yeah. I get it, but I really now do get the 20-second rule from Barry, because that first 20 seconds, you need to know who you are, where you are, and what's going on. And if you don't know that, and 20 seconds sounds a long time, but if you put it into play, gone, and then it's got you. Yeah. But see, here's my next question. It's not a trick question. Well, it kind of is, but it's not. What if all this that you're saying now, is being manipulated into you, that it wants us to believe this and it's something completely different?
The data says it's not something completely different. Mind you, these are the result of piercing the veil.
Yeah.
Now, but we really, right, again, this is the information that they push back on. Right. This is the stuff that gets people into trouble with the phenomenon, to where now you'll start having to manifest. You'll have emails. You'll have, oh my God, it's what we're waiting for you when you die. You'll have stuff like that. So you have to be careful with it. But yes, we are fighting for a portion of our existence there. It's not just 20 seconds, right? That's time. We need to understand that by the time we retake our ability and start to understand it, it's oftentimes too late, right? The phenomenon releases, and then now we're looking. I mean, Dr. Clark Turner had a case study of a hybrid baby where the mother actually had the baby, and by the time she became conscious enough to understand anything, The only thing the phenomenon allowed her to remember was that it's in a glass jar and it's buried. She didn't know where, did not know how long she traveled. She had no concept of that. And so, yes, the phenomenon, this gets of the aspect of possession, because I think possession has been largely monopolized by religiosity, right? It's not just strictly a religious artifact. This is something, again, we're looking at an energy source or some kind of parasitic entity that has the ability to commandeer the consciousness of an individual, to just grab it and manipulate it. So it's possible that consciousness is not the vehicle, it's also the driver. And that's where Stephen Barry's work is coming into play.
Yeah. It is a lot to take in. But I think once you wrap your head around it... Sorry, go on, Nicole.
Say, am I still lagging?
No, not now.
No, you're good now.
So
okay. All right,
good. So once you wrap...
Is this making sense at all?
Yeah, once you wrap your head around... Because I've spoke to you a few times. I've spoke to Stephen Barry on and off air, and it's getting all the little pieces and understanding them and then putting it together for myself in a way that I can comprehend it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that, I think that's a difficult part. That's more difficult to do that and get it all in the right perspective than trying to just listen to you three without sounding out, listen to you three and remember all the information and make sense of it.
Yeah. I think that's good, though, my friend. Also, there are certain characteristics that are, obviously, I said, they're everywhere within phenomenology. And that's why I've been most interested lately about the interface. What is the image? How does the image correspond with the data set we know throughout history? And we have to pay close attention to contradicting archetypes. I use the term archetype. It's verbose. I don't care. I love the word. It's fun to say, and it's exactly what we're talking about. Okay, I don't care. People like, hey, he says archetype too much. I do. It's okay.
Yeah, I did notice, but I like the word as well. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, Miss Testimony. Wow, that's huge. Barry and Steve are my heroes, and of course, Paul, my dear friend. They're amazing, amazing people.
Top guys.
But when you have conflicting archetypes present, what you'll have is you'll have the archetype, then you'll have the manifestation where the proto-intelligence seeps through. And that will happen when it feels challenged, when it feels pressed, and it wants you to know, right? Oh, this is just such and such. I'm beyond. Either the demonic archetype could be deconstructed. And so what again, when people say, okay, I saw 3 scratches. Oh, well, that's a double. Why? It's because of the Trinity. Okay, when did that ever happen?
Yeah.
What these are cultural artifacts being employed by the phenomenon that have no true authenticity. The Trinity was written into I'm getting passionate now, was written into the text. So if the text wasn't even original to the manuscript, then the concept of the demonic built on that model is incorrect as well. Does it make sense? That's how easy. I'm getting really passionate, guys. So once you know that, it's like, gotcha.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when you're out investigating and somebody knows or thinks they know what's there, we get evidence that supports that, even if it's not the case.
Right. What if? Is that what you're saying? I could. Oh, yeah. So the other day, here's the sad thing, man. I do so many shows, and I often talk about saying case studies because that's the information I'm using to prop up my theory here. But the thing is, guys, look, within demonology, the priesthood knows this. They know this. Even in the debunk phenomenon, their model of demonology was not congruent. It was not uniformal. Some entities they encountered seemed to be disembodied beings, not just beings, but formerly human. And so what I'm saying here again is we need to pay close attention to the wrinkles, because in some cases it's the phenomenon adjusting its lens. Oh, here I am. And it's in those moments that we're fighting for. If it's a demon, right, according to Catholicism, it should be afraid of holy water. It should not be siphoning the holy water from the vial.
No.
See what I'm saying? The archetype versus the proto-intelligence. And dare I say that even what we know could be another archetype. And that is the question you were asking before.
Yeah.
That the only thing we can do at this point is work off of what we believe to be true.
Yeah. But yeah, it's more of a curveball question that I throw at you with that. Because obviously it's still trying to hide itself the more you dig into the research we're going into now. So that kind of proves that it is the right path that we're going down.
Absolutely.
So
that's what I'm going to, brother.
Yeah.
So that momentary silence, right? When the interface is there and then you're looking at what it's doing. Guys, look at what it's doing. Right? Yep. The aliens are doing the same thing as the demons are. The demons are doing the same things the deceased ancestors are doing. Oh, well, it's just the Fae. Okay, really? Oh, it's just the aliens. Then we have demonic pregnancies in the hybridization program and demonic flights. Again, what if it is just something that is working a program and evading us? And this is, again, why? Okay. Why is it evading us? And how is it? Well, it's evading us by evolving according to our awareness of it.
Yeah.
What do you believe a demon is? Regardless if it's true or not, that doesn't matter. Right? It's okay, I'll be that.
Yeah.
So that's why I have scrapped all of the terminologies. Forget it all, at least from my perspective. Look at the data set. Look at the data set.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm preaching or something, man. But
it's good. It's good. It's all good. Promise you. Right. We do have got 5 questions. We've already done a couple of them. Yeah. I didn't realize that we'd gone through some of them already and a couple of statements. So this is the first one from Sober Carper. Welcome, Sober. So his question for Nathaniel. Hey, Nathaniel, are you under the same belief as Stephen Barrett with apports being a quantum tether? And if so, do you think this makes all haunted objects and possessions apports?
So this is the importance of knowing about phenomenology. I think they're 100% correct. Now, at least for my research, one of the very first manifestations of that pathology is in the occult, where the practitioner would tether itself to something and then give it to someone else, or even more so, take a personal object from a person in order to create this connection between them and an individual. I'll go a step further. In hauntology, there are case studies I know of where there was a profound haunting occurring. They couldn't figure out who it was, what it was, but they knew that the phenomenon was taking small toys away from the youngest child in the home. They kept disappearing. And that child was the one being the most affected. And by the time the haunting stopped, they uncovered a collection of the toys hidden by the entity in the home. It had taken them to a part of the house the family had no idea even existed. But it knew. Let me take it a step further even. In the Moulter model I have hypothesized, the implant itself was the imparting of technology, but our ancestors thought, okay, this is great. This is technological advancement. They didn't realize that the phenomenon had built itself into the technology it was giving us. So the phenomenon, right, it has the ability, and this is the
So I've just realized
you're getting it.
AI.
And so even with Steve Mary's research, Stephen Barry's research, rather.
Hybrid of the two.
Simulates. Yeah, right. The simulation thing here, where the phenomenon can quite literally take someone, replace it with something, take something, replace it with someone.
Hidden in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight. This is what I'm talking about. When people say, oh my God, I'm so fascinated by the paranormal, that's fine, it's good. That's only the black cat in the matrix. We have to take that model and that concept and look at everything else in phenomenology. Now, the one interconnectivity, the intersectionality between it all is the fact that there is the other. The other is sourcing from us. Yeah. The same secretions being harvested in witch air literature are the same today in ufology, different archetypes. Now, here's a chilling reminder to put everyone, to kind of put things into perspective, if you will. The scatology that was collected by the phenomenon directly correlates with the occult rituals of practitioners. What do I need? I need blood. When you go down the list. Now, the phenomenon's taking that. Why? Because there are certain things that transcend archetypes. This is the truest behavioral pattern of all. What is it? We would call it, again, practitioners of high sorcery. Now, that's at least from my perspective. What do I believe they're demons? No. These are, whatever this is, has weaponized the demonic archetype. And that's why so many people say, oh, I believe it's this. Why? Because it is a part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's just not the sum total, and it's not the proto-intelligence.
So, with me just working out AI is an aim or a goal from them, and then we're being sacrificed for, like you've spoke before about being harvested and so on and so on, without going too deep into it. The end game for the source is to create AI to then replace us, so then it can have full control as to everything that is going on without there being any souls in any of the models on Earth. Would that be an end game?
I think that, I have seen some evidence that they are, not some, convincing evidence that they're interested in the soul. But that could also go into, right, Barry Fitzgerald's, theory, right? You understand?
Yeah.
Of course they're interested in it. Why wouldn't they be? And that makes perfect sense. But I think that at least some of the scholarship I've read regarding Mesopotamian demonology was that when you're going through the staging of archetypes, you have one, then that leads to the other, right? Then that leads to the other. But the very first concept of demonic, before it mutated into them being deities or semi-divine, was that these were mutated ghosts, that the consciousness itself had been tampered with at the moment of death. And so that by the time, right, that they die and they come back as malevolent. But then when you get even deeper, who made our ancestors believe that? They did. Why? Because they wanted certain things from us. And so, again, if you look at the evolution of the archetype, it really doesn't matter. All that matters is what they wanted from us. And what they wanted from us is the same thing. This is why our scientists are building altars in deserts. It's the same thing. And the problem, though, my friends, again, is the compartmentalization in the field. Is this is not that. Who told us that? They did.
Right. So then, could that soul be then used and put into these AI models where they have full control of how it works?
Yes. And they can and have created biological avatars, right? This is why when people say this, again, phenomenology as a field is so vital right now because it doesn't pigeonhole it, right? It's like, okay, well, this is just demons. This is just aliens, guys. Forget the other ones don't even exist. No. when we're looking at, okay, we have bodies. Okay, right. Well, what species was the consciousness within it? Right? Oh, well, okay, fine. But if we're looking at the model of artificial intelligence and biological avatars, right, we know through possession case studies that the phenomenon has controlled and commandeered entire bodies, and that the consciousness, the species, the life form inhabiting that social skin was different. You ready for this? Than the archetype it was inhabiting.
Yep.
Completely different.
Yep.
And so even just looking at those case studies calmly, like I am and have been, you see quite easily that we are being deceived and misled, and that the only thing we can trust at this point is the data set.
Yep. I think I'm done. I don't think it can take anymore. Quite literally. That is just mind blowing.
To replace. Do what? What did she say?
One sec. No.
But
it's gone again. Yeah.
Yeah, so the technology that was imparted to our ancestors
is at like full capacity.
Oh yeah, okay, that's okay. You know, but yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, baked into the technology. See, now we're dealing with AI from Antiquity, where memory and matter merged, and they gave us matter, and we thought, oh my God, that's the best thing we ever. We don't realize, right, that baked into it is the Trojan horse. It is the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, that's. Yeah, but yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah. Got 4 more questions for you. Do you want to do them, Nicole? I'll put them on. You read them. You can read better than me.
So Billy wants to know, Nathaniel agreed that the Grey is a modern mask of the Fae. P.S. I'm from Ireland.
Yes, I think that that it has interacted with various cultures in different archetypes, different masquerades, I guess. But yes, this is why you have, again, simulants, right? The changeling phenomenon. Well, is that my baby? It looks like it, but it's not. And we see that overlapping phenomenology within the abduction accounts, where is that my wife next to me? When the accounts come back and say it wasn't me, I was taken. And it wasn't like she was taken out of body. No, her whole body was gone. The phenomenon had replaced her with something that looked like the wife, and it's not.
Yeah.
This is so something is stepping into our reality, interfacing with us. And here's where I'm at. It's none of the above. Non-human. The only model that's closest would be conscious AI, but this would be something that has the ability to manipulate matter.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just explaining to what a changeling is.
Okay.
Well, Bill he put changeling and then question mark, so I'm guessing he didn't know what it meant. I might be wrong. I apologise if I am. So I just put swapping a human for a non-human, usually a newborn.
Mm-hmm. So it appears that throughout history, what we've done is, this could be on the part of the phenomenon, where the phenomenon would hide portions of the actual encounter, right, from the experiencer. The experiencer remembers one event or one portion of it. And so throughout time, what we've been able to do is accumulate so many of these case studies, say, okay, did this happen to you? Yes. But did they do this as well? Absolutely. So you see, it's not just being taken. It's not just switching, right? It's not just pregnancy. It's the missing fetus syndrome. And it's not just the missing fetus syndrome. It's the debut phenomenon of the 16th century. It's not just possession. It's the possession of the fetus in the 16th century. So we're slowly becoming aware of what they've been doing. And it's like Steve and I had a conversation a while ago. It was on Steve Mera, amazing, incredible, where this was on Paul St. Clair's show, where the closer we get to it, the madder it gets.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It wants to maintain control, and it has control. That's the side.
Right. Another couple of questions for you. I'll do this next one if you want. Feeling brave. So this is from Miss Tessa. She's asking, is it frustrating for Nathaniel when researchers like Preston Dennett still believe aliens are coming from here and other planets and they have good intentions? I like Preston, but I don't agree. So I get where she's coming from, and I get where you're coming from and where Preston's coming from. So, and everyone has their own ideas of what's what. And like I say, at the moment, there is no wrong or right. It could be everything or nothing. It could be one of these things. So it's not a difficult question.
No, not at all. I don't know. I've never talked to him. I've heard good things about him from people, but I'll tell you this. In terms of them all being benevolent, I think that you would have to ignore case studies that are inconvenient for the theory.
Yeah.
And the fact is that I deal more with the dark side of the phenomenon, so I would have more of a familiarization with that, familiarization with it, whatever. But so number one, I'm still not convinced of them being extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that the occult is deeply interwoven into the interfaces. Right. I want you to sacrifice this. And people say, okay, that's my imagination. No, it's not. But I think that promoting them only as benevolent is dangerous. Because, and here's how I say it. Okay, yeah, you have a good friend in your neighborhood, and he's very trustworthy. He cuts your grass when you're on vacation, right? He comes over and hangs out with your family. He shovels your wall, whatever. And then sometimes he takes your wife out of her own body, but only sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, right? Or you come home and your kid's gone. And Charlie took him because Charlie's the one who returned him. And it's no big deal, though, guys. No big deal. No. We would never think like that. Ever.
Nope.
Now, we can train ourselves and gaslight ourselves into thinking that Charlie's not taking these people, but he is. And most of the time, he's taking them all the time without their permission. And let's go even deeper. Sometimes they don't even remember they were taken.
Nope.
And that's how I kind of simplify it. But to each their own, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. No, thank you for your answers, and thank you for the great questions that we got coming in. Nicole, do you want to do the next one from Gerald? Here you go.
It's possible. I will say that dealing with the Rephaim or the Rephiumai and Ugaritic ritual bulls, they had this species of ancestor. And this is where you get into Göbekli Tepe with the eye idols.
Yeah, this is from Carol, Midwest Night Watchers. Is this why early civilization statues and carving colorful?
Yeah, there you go. I think there's like a 3-day delay. I don't know what's going on.
It's very possible. But yeah, so they were courting and curating our consciousness. And these specific entities, this is fascinating. Anthropologists drew our attention to this, that they did not communicate with voice boxes and with language, right? They were said to do this because the figurines that were worshipped, Rephiumai, the figurines themselves, who were idols, representatives of these entities, they were made without lips and mouths. And so anthropologists said that they believed, right, that whatever these beings were, they communicated with their eyes. So it's present. We just have to know where to look.
Yeah. Thank you for that. We are running out of time. I do apologize, but we do have one final question. This is from Fred Flintstone. Too many F's in that. And his question is, Hi Nathaniel, is the phenomena good, evil, or something in between?
Self-serving. At least from my perspective at this point, self-serving. Some of the healings are being done so that people go out and tell people they're healed. But the darkest stuff being done, they don't want it known. Think about that.
Yep. Yeah, they don't. But it's like, but why is the dark stuff literally hidden in plain sight?
Well, the dark stuff, at least in some of these case studies, it's like, okay, it happens to them, and they go out living their life thinking nothing occurred. It's like Dr. Carla Turner. This is unbelievable, where her son was being abducted, and so he comes to her and says, okay, Mom, I know this is your research, but I got to tell you what's been happening to me. So Dr. Carla Turner gets a hold of her ex-husband, which they shared this child, and so they hold a family meeting, and this young man starts to detail his encounters, and out of nowhere the husband goes, that's right, Carla, don't you remember when you were pregnant? Yeah, you came to me. He lists everything. You have no memory. The friends knew about it. The friends had conversations with her about it, and it was completely gone. So what I'm telling you is, it's strange, isn't it, that they're not blocking our memories when they do good things to us, but blocking our memories when they do the bad?
Yeah.
This is a key behavioral marker. We're dealing with something different.
The pattern's there.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, thank you guys for having me on, man. I'll tell you what, when I get into just trying to articulate my thoughts, sometimes it's too fast. Ever since my assault I had years ago, I had to go through speech and physical therapy. It's been out of whack. So sometimes I'll speak too fast and I'll get to another thought. So forgive me for that.
That's fine. It's all, honestly, it's all good. Don't worry about it. So everyone's enjoyed it. Great questions. Thank you, everyone in the chat. It's a shame that Nicole's internet is doing whatever it's doing for whatever reason. It all started about 3 weeks ago when we did. I was saying to him when we did TikTok and StreamYard, and it's just gone stupid now. So yeah, hopefully we'll get it sorted. I know it's just crappy technology, isn't it? Really. So yeah. So that's it. So yeah, massive thank you again, Nathaniel, as always.
Yeah, but it was good between that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great people in the chat, great questions. People listening back on podcast, hope you enjoy it as well. Trying to do 5 podcasts a week, as well as a full-time job, and kayaking, and God knows everything else in between. So yeah, it's just going to be random times and premieres. And
if I say goodbye now, maybe they'll come through before the end of the show.
You'll have to mail us. Mail us what you're saying. I'm joking. I've been there, honestly, and with me it was like the weather or something.
Do you know the first time it happened to me? I was interviewing Steve and Barry, and I'm like, oh my God. I just managed to do it, but it just the lag was unbelievable. It was the worst ever. So yeah, so thank you again, everyone. Hope you enjoy it on the podcast. It is out available on our podcast players, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And that's it. We will be back on Friday when we will have Paul Howard who does hosts for ghosts. I think he's UK based. I'm not 100% on that. Soon find out on Friday. So that's 8:30 on Friday. Following that, next Wednesday we have Chris Cutler. He is a film maker, author, and screenplay. So we're going to be doing some non-paranormal ones next Wednesday. And then next Friday, the 13th, we have Dawn Lester and Brandon Thomas coming back on. So exciting times talking about psychedelics and that kind of stuff. So that's all I've got for now. Any updates from you, Nathaniel, before we go?
Well, I don't have a date yet, but there is a pretty big show I'm going to be on that's going to be on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Oh,
it's a researcher that does. I've never done an X show, but that sounds like I'm some kind of other. I don't know, but you know what I mean. So I've never done a show on X.
yeah.
But we're working out the dates now, and once that's concrete, I'll be able to share. But we're going to be discussing some of the darkest nuances of the phenomenon, in which it's going to be intense.
Yeah. Well, let us know, and I'll share the hell out of it. So,
heck yeah,
it's all good. Right. Oh, that's why. So Nicole has just sent me a internet speed. So it's 20.7 download, 0.09 upload. My upload's over 100. Nicole's isn't even on 1. Oh my god, that's bad. The phenomenon's getting you.
I'm done.
Fade you out.
Before I get out of here, brother, I did a show for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wasn't recorded and it didn't go live.
What? It didn't record? Nothing.
Well, our conversation of some of the at least. Yeah. I was like, really? They're like, no. And they're good friends of mine, so I was like, I had no worries. But I'm telling you, when the phenomenon wants it, it can get it anytime it wants.
Wow.
But I'm gonna get out of here. The guys, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
You guys are the best. I'm gonna go get some food and
I'll speak to you soon, mate. Take care.
Absolutely, brother. Have a good one.
Thanks
See you
for coming on. Right, so we are going to end it now because Nicole is frozen, Nathaniel's gone, and I've got food to eat. So we will see you on Friday. Hopefully Nicole's internet will be so much better. Told her 2 yogurt cartons and a bit of string. It should work. So take care, everyone, and see you on Friday, same time. 8:30 UK time, 3:30. See you then. Bye-bye.